upon the Supreme Lord, upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. Text 4. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifested in their hearts within a short time. Text 5. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is, Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. Text 6. A pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. Text 7. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this? For it is known to you. Text 8. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? Text 9. Brahma, who was not born of a material source but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. Text 10. Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the supersoul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. Text 11. O learned Brahmana, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe, with their respective governors, are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you explain that? Text 12. Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time, indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Text 13. O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action. Text 14. Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living beings, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. So we begin. Can I go ahead? Okay. So we'll begin going through the Prabhupada purport, chapter 8, verse 1 onwards. We'll begin with a short Mangala Charan. Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyatyaги Satarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So in the first verse, Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring from Srila Sukadeva Goswami, how did Srila Narad Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those who are directly instructed by Lord Brahma? Very important question. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Srila Narad Muni was instructed by Lord Brahma himself, who was directly instructed by Lord himself, Supreme Lord himself. And therefore, the instructions imparted by Srila Narad Muni to his various disciples are as good as of those of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, so that is why we need to, it is called a descending process. Prabhupada writes in the purport that we should always receive transcendental knowledge coming down directly from the Supreme Lord to various personalities, and finally that is why when Srila Prabhupada speaks through his books, it is as good as hearing from the Supreme Lord directly. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So Prabhupada writes, the test for a bona fide spiritual master who is coming in a disciplic succession is that there should be no difference between the instruction of the Supreme Lord Krishna originally imparted to his devotee and that which is imparted by the authority in the line of disciplic succession. So there should be no concoction for a guru coming in the same disciplic succession. When a guru speaks, it is as good as Krishna speaking, and we will know only when we hear, not by looking at a person. Prabhupada often says how to find a guru. The test is when we hear him. When we hear to a guru means it's not one person. Guru is Guru Tattva. That Guru Tattva can flow through different personalities. So, but when we hear to such personalities, we will realize that this person is genuine only by hearing, not by looking at a person. Prabhupada says in other places. It will appear also that the Lord existed prior to the material creation. And therefore his name, transcendental name, quality, etc. do not represent any material quality. Anything that is related to Krishna is not material. That is what this translation also states. And therefore the Lord is described as aguna, sometimes aguna, nirguna. So Prabhupada often states that people try to misunderstand this terminology of nirguna means Lord has no qualities. It is not that. Prabhupada and our acharyas say Krishna doesn't have any material qualities like us. He doesn't have any tinge of material qualities like us. He's always transcendental to all the material conceptions. And text 2, the king continues, Maharaj Parikshit continues, he wishes a series of questions. This entire chapter is a series of questions. So he wants to know the narrations concerning the Supreme Lord, who possesses wonderful potencies and are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets. It's not just Earth, everywhere. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narrations of the activities of the Supreme Lord, is auspicious for all living entities residing in every single planet within every universe. If somebody hears, we will see in the third canto, I think, there are some sages who come from the topmost planetary realm, and they go through via the Ganges or some celestial river, and they come to the bottommost portion of the universe to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is no time, place, and circumstance. If you are able to hear from the right source, that's what Prabhupada says in the purport, that even non-devotees hovering under the spell of material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Right? Even people who have no inclination to Krishna, if they hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source with some devotion, that I want to understand something, I'm really curious about my life, with that attitude, if we can hear to Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source, then the life gets transformed. We saw practically, right, when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, he never carried Bhagavad Gita with him. He had a trunk case of the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam in 3 different books. And that's what he used. He used to print and he used to sell those books. And many Westerners had direct access to Srimad Bhagavatam even before Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada is literally showing by example what is the potency of Bhagavatam. And in text 3, Maharaj Parikshit continues, "O greatly fortunate Srila Sukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Super Soul Lord Krishna and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body." Because Maharaj Parikshit has only 7 days, he is requesting Srila Sukadeva Goswami to narrate the pastimes of Krishna's. Why? What is the purpose of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? So that we can have our mind fixed on Krishna. Right? When we hear the pastimes of Krishna, it is a natural effect that we get attracted to Krishna and we are able to focus on Krishna. Prabhupada writes in the purport, to be fully engaged in hearing the transcendental narration described in the Srimad Bhagavatam means to constantly associate with Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. And to constantly associate with the Supreme Lord Krishna means to be liberated from qualities of matter. So what is the solution for getting away from the miseries of our day-to-day life? Is by hearing the pastimes of Krishna. I mean, that is not our goal, but that is a side effect. Prabhupada is saying that there is a natural effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is getting out of the contaminations of the qualities of matter. Prabhupada gives example, just in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita it says that in the presence of sun, there cannot be any darkness. In Krishna Surya Samamai, Maya Nahi Andakar, Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi, Maya Dikar. Constant engagement in the association of Lord Shri Krishna frees one from the contamination of the material qualities. And Prabhupada writes, it is a duty of the sane to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from whom? From a self-realized soul. That is very important. You should not hear, Prabhupada writes, you should not hear Srimad Bhagavatam from some professional men trying to make some business. Self-realized soul. Prabhupada will clarify that in the future purpose, who's a self-realized soul. And one should continue to hearing such narrations from Bhagavatam. It's not that I hear for some time and then I leave. Until the end of one's life, so that one can be actually having transcendental association of the Lord and thus be liberated simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada in some places he writes, when a person becomes really, truly transcendental, they will find no difference between the pastimes of Krishna or the names of Krishna. No difference. And that is the example, the realization that Prabhupada is giving from his own heart, that simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can be liberated, but one has to hear from a self-realized soul, a pure devotee of Krishna. But still, Prabhupada writes, Maharaj Parikshit had already given up all his connections. We saw in the second chapter, in the second canto, he had given up everything because he had only 7 days to live. But still, Prabhupada writes, but still he was conscious of his material body. He wanted to free from such bondage also by constant association of Krishna through hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And texts 4 and 5 are the purpose to study today. Very famous verse. What is the effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly are always taking the matter very seriously, will have the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. Kalena na ati dirghena, Bhagavan vishate hridi, in the heart. The effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna establishes himself in the heart of a devotee. But Prabhupada warns, deep devotees or materialistic devotees of the Lord are very much desirous to see the Lord personally without meeting the requisite qualifications. Very important. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see Krishna. Do something for Krishna that he wants to see us. Right? It's exactly what Prabhupada is saying here, that we have to qualify ourselves. It is a lifelong process. So we cannot just barge into the spiritual world, Prabhupada says. We have to qualify ourselves. Right? Maharaj Parikshit personally recommends that one hears Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, nityam, always, by one's own effort and with serious devotion also. That will help one to see the Lord Shri Krishna manifested in one's heart with no time. Very quickly, Prabhupada is saying. Effect is very quick, provided we hear from the right source. The pseudo devotee, however, is very anxious to see the Lord according to his own whims, not making any serious effort to hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and without detachment from material benefit. Right? So it's not that I am too much attached to material benefit, but at the same time I hear Srimad Bhagavatam. As and when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural effect is we get detachment. That is not the way recommended by the authority. Prabhupada is saying if you are too much materially attached and we are not hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then the process takes a long time. And text 5, again, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam explained, the sound incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna, the super soul that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart. When we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of the self-realized devotees, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and then cleanses the heart, cleanses the dust of the material associations such as lust, anger, and hankering. And the analogy is given just like autumn rains upon the pools of muddy water. And Prabhupada says that a single pure devotee of Krishna can deliver all the fallen souls of the world. One pure devotee is enough. Prabhupada said, I have so many devotees, but my success in his preaching, he said, if I can make one pure devotee, my preaching is success. Prabhupada has made so many pure devotees, right? And they are delivering the entire world today. Thus, one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee like Srila Narad Muni or Srila Sukadeva Goswami, and thus is empowered by one spiritual master, he cannot deliver himself, cannot only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya, but can deliver the whole world. Prabhupada is indirectly talking about himself. He doesn't always mention himself or myself. We can directly see from Prabhupada's example that he was sincerely following the instructions of his guru. And he became such a devotee that he literally delivered the entire world. And the analogy is given as during the rainy season, all the waters of the river become muddy. But in the month of July, August, the autumn season, there is slight rainfall and the muddy waters all over the world become at once clear. Only a big rainfall can clear, not by some small reservoir of water, the entire dust can be clear. So a powerful, pure devotee of the Lord, however, can not only deliver his personal self, but also many others in his association. If we take the association of a powerful, pure devotee of Krishna, he can not only deliver himself, he can deliver the entire world. So again, the glorification of association of a pure devotee is mentioned here. Right? A true representative of the Lord, like Srila Narad Muni, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis, Prabhupada doesn't mention himself, again showing his humility. And later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur can deliver all people by their empowered devotional service. Prabhupada never claimed anything for himself. He always mentioned that it was the previous acharyas who were actually doing through him. And then Prabhupada writes, that all these pure devotees became so powerful because they sincerely followed the Bhagavatam principles. It is not just hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we should strive. We may fail many times, we will fail many times, but we have to strive to follow the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam by regular hearing and worshipping. The Lord is always within the heart of the living being, but he becomes manifested by one's devotional service. Right? Many times we have this question, well, Krishna is already there as Paramatma in all of our hearts. So what is the big deal about hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? But Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is there, but we can realize his presence only by hearing and performing bhakti, by one's devotional service. And purification of the heart may, through other processes, through Gyan or mystic yoga, it is all like clearing the small quantity of stagnant water, Prabhupada is saying. Such clarification of water may stand for some time. We may feel purified for some time. Definitely there is some effect. But Prabhupada is saying, again, the sediments which are settled down will become agitated and it will come back again to the surface. That is the problem with other processes. Because through bhakti, we are relying on Krishna. And Krishna is doing the work for us of cleansing the heart. But through other processes, we are dependent on ourselves, our own strength. And so what will happen is, the sediments are settling down temporarily, and then through some small provocation or agitation, it will come back onto the surface again. Right? And in text 6, a pure devotee of Krishna whose heart has been cleansed by the process of bhakti never relinquishes the lotus feet of Krishna, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. Again, analogy is given, right? Prabhupada writes, who is a pure devotee? Now, Prabhupada 2-3 purports ago, he mentioned we have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a pure devotee. Now, Prabhupada is saying, who is a pure devotee? One who is not a pure devotee of Krishna is not completely cleansed in heart. So, this is another definition of a pure devotee is who is completely cleansed in heart, no contamination. And how do we know that? When they speak, right? Action speaks. We will know what kind of a person we are dealing with when they speak and through their actions. And we will clearly know who is a pure devotee and who is not a pure devotee, right? I can presume myself to be a pure devotee, but when I make some actions, when I make some stupid mistakes, I know this person is not a pure devotee, right? But a perfectly cleansed person never quits devotional service of Krishna. Constantly chanting and hearing about Krishna, a pure devotee, never wastes time. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains through the instructions of Srila Sanatana Goswami, right? Shantir Abhyartha Kalatvam, like Abhyartha Kalatvam, they never waste a single moment. 9 or 10 characteristics of a pure devotee is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? In discharging such bhakti as ordered by the pure representatives like Sri Brahmaji or Sri Narad Muni, sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various difficulties, but still they don't give it up. Why? Prabhupada writes, because it is the order of the superiors, such as the spiritual master. How beautiful, right? See how Prabhupada also felt he had so many difficulties. 40 years of preaching in India, 0 results. He was alone. He did everything he could. Printing, publishing, chanting, going and preaching in Jhansi. Some success, then again a failure. Every attempt he made was a failure, materially speaking. But Prabhupada didn't give it up. Why? Prabhupada says, but a devotee of Krishna cannot give up the service of Krishna, for he is ordered by his spiritual master. How resolute Prabhupada is. Personification of resolute devotional service. Never giving up at any instant. Whatever happens in life, I will not give up the bhakti towards Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada writes, for all such troubles that come are at once mitigated as soon as the sense of his family affection is remembered, and as soon as he returns home, he forgets all such troubles on the way. The analogy given in the verse, right? Because the pure devotees always want to satisfy their superiors and Krishna. They are just as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey, even though there are many troubles that are coming through the journey, when they reach home and when they see their family members, they are satisfied. Similarly, a pure devotee is never perturbed under any troubling circumstance in their life, because they are always at heart connected with their Guru and Krishna. Just like it was asked once to a spiritual master, that how did Dhruva Maharaj practice bhakti alone in the forest? Of course, Srila Narad Muni came and instructed Dhruva Maharaj, and he left. And Dhruva Maharaj was a 5-year-old kid, and he practiced bhakti exactly what Srila Narad Muni mentioned. And there was this question asked, where was the association for Dhruva Maharaj? This is the association that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. Dhruva Maharaj, even though he didn't have personal association, he was at heart always fixed on the instructions of Srila Narad Muni. Prahlad Maharaj heard the instructions of Srila Narad Muni when he was in the womb of his mother. And if you see the instructions that Prahlad Maharaj is giving in the 7th canto, striking resemblance of Srila Narad Muni mentioning in the 1st canto to Srila Vyasadeva. Almost same instructions. How is it possible? Fixed in hearing and executing those instructions. These great souls are teaching us. It doesn't matter whether the pure devotee is close to us or not. How receptive are we, and how much am I trying to execute those instructions, right? In text 7, he mentions, "Oh, learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body." Okay. But does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? See, Maharaj Parikshit is asking very important questions that usually come to us. How do we actually gain this body? Does it come by chance? Or there is some cause to it? And Prabhupada says in the purport, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of an authority. We have to clear our doubts. A person on the path of bhakti may inquire from his spiritual master all about the spiritual position of God and the living beings. We have to inquire, right? So he's asking what are the causes of the material body. And Prabhupada writes right in the purport that even if we are fixed in bhakti, he is giving example of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit already saw Krishna when he was not even born. When he came out from his mother's womb, he was always searching for Krishna. Such a person is still inquiring, Prabhupada is saying. So something for us to learn. There is no end for learning, no end for understanding about Krishna. We should always feel that we don't know much actually in bhakti. And that is the attitude that our Goswamis, 6 Goswamis taught. They are always very, very, very submissive. Long way to go, but we have to aspire for that. The 6 Goswamis were totally having straw in their teeth and always falling under the feet of the Vaishnavas, always inquiring. And Prabhupada writes the reason, one who is not well versed in the authorized scriptures, right? Because when we are inquiring, the Guru also should be capable to answer the question. But Prabhupada writes why? Because if a Guru is not authorized well in scriptures and not able to answer all the relevant inquiries, he should not pose as a Guru. For material gain, it is illegal to become a Guru if one is unable to deliver his disciple. Right? Guru na sasya, pita na sasya, janani na sasya. 5th canto, Rishabhadev Maharaj says that if one cannot become a Guru if they are not able to deliver their disciple. We see in Sri Chaitanya, in one of Lord Gauranga's Leela, that Sri Gadadhar Pandit came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he said that I want to actually get the mantra again from you. And because I am not having any effect of the mantra that I received from my Guru. His Guru was Pundari Vidyanidhi. The reason why Sri Gadadhar Pandit was actually asking is some of his disciples were not sincere and they fell down. He felt guilt at his heart. They are teaching through examples that a Guru should take only qualified disciples, not for increasing. Prabhupada writes that in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, not just for increasing the number of disciples. So that is why Prabhupada writes in the purport that there is a 1-year period where the disciple can test a qualified Guru and the Guru also has equal opportunity to test the disciple. That is why all these things are there. And in text 8, if Krishna, from whom the abdomen, the lotus flower, the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed as gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of Krishna and those of common living entities? Because from gigantic body or the universal lotus flower only we came, and that is coming from Krishna. So what is the difference between our body and his body? Maharaj Parikshit is asking very scientific questions, Prabhupada writes in the purport. And in text 9, Brahma was not born of material source, but the lotus flower coming out of Krishna is the creator of all those who are materially born, right? Brahma didn't come from a material source because he came from Krishna directly. He didn't need a mother, Prabhupada writes. Just like, that's why he's called Aja. Aja means one who does not need material mother like us, right? Thus, Prabhupada writes, thus it is not readily understandable whether the body of Krishna and that of Brahma are of the same quality or different. It's not very clear. So Maharaj Parikshit is asking all these questions. And in text 10, he is also asking, please explain the personality of Godhead who lies in every heart as super soul and as a lord of all energies, but is untouched by material energies. And in text 11, he is asking, O learned Brahmana, it was formally explained that all planets within the universe with their respective governors are situated in different parts of the gigantic body as the imaginary form of Krishna. And I have also heard that different planetary systems are supposed to be on this imaginary Virat Rupa. What is the actual position of these planets? Can you please kindly explain? All these series of questions he's asking. Also, please explain, he's going in detail, right? Explain about duration of time, creation, annihilation, indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life, etc. O purest of Brahmanas is addressing Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Please also explain the cause of different durations of time, both short and long, as well as beginning of time following the course of action. And then text 14, the last verse, is saying, then again kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of reactions resulting from our action, our different actions within the modes of material nature make us promote or degrade between different species of life. How does this karma work? Why I am a human now? Why I have to be some other species later? From demigod to the most insignificant creatures. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the actions and reactions of all works in the material modes of nature are due to the reactions of karma and becomes manifested on some based on some proportion. Prabhupada writes. Life in higher planets, known as the abodes of denizens of the heaven, is not obtained by any strength, probably relating to the recent events of people trying to go to the moon, right? Prabhupada directly mentions it is not possible. Because one has to be in the mode of goodness to actually go to the heavenly realms. Even on every planet, Prabhupada is giving analogy. If we have to go from one country to another, just like how people come to America or any other country, you need a visa. We need to qualify ourselves. Because Prabhupada is saying the reason is that the Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who is not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Very practical example. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. The higher planetary living conditions are also in the mode of goodness, and therefore one has to thoroughly qualify himself or herself in the mode of goodness before even trying to barge into another heavenly realm. It is not possible just to go, Prabhupada is writing. And then later in the purport, Prabhupada says the various actions and reactions of karma in the mode of goodness are generally known as pious work with devotional service. Prabhupada is actually explaining the Bhagavad Gita verse of 925, where if a person worships heavenly realm, Pitraloka, he goes to Pitraloka. If he worships persons who are in earth, he remains in earth. But Krishna says if somebody worships him, he goes to his abode. So Prabhupada writes, so one has to practice bhakti, which is transcendental, not mixed with any other motivation. I should have no motivations while practicing bhakti. Am I chanting for my own pleasure, or am I chanting for the pleasure of Krishna and Srimati Radharani? Am I doing some service for my own pleasure, or am I doing service for the pleasure of the devotees in the temple and Krishna? We have to keep asking this ourselves. That is why Prabhupada saying this is called para bhakti. No strings attached in bhakti. It alone can promote a person to the kingdom of God. Prabhupada is writing very important. Only para bhakti can promote one to the kingdom of God. And such transcendental kingdom is not a myth, but it is as factual as the moon. Prabhupada is writing, one must have transcendental qualities to understand the kingdom of God and God himself. So that is why Prabhupada often says we cannot understand Krishna with our material senses because we are conditioned. So how to obtain transcendental qualities? Prabhupada gives two simple formulas. Chanting Hare Krishna as much as possible and taking only the bhoga offered to Krishna as prasadam. If he can do these two things, everything else will follow. This is Prabhupada, who is an Acharya, his promise. We'll stop here. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Offering my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in this call. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जगतगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.